Hey guys, welcome back to another tutorial, and this one is going to be a little different. Usually I'm working with an image Instagrammer has sent into me, but this time we're working with one of my images. And yeah, that's why I always want you guys to comment down below who you guys want to see, because I go through all the comments and then I reach out to them on Instagram, ask them to send in a photo, and then do a tutorial on them. But yeah, this time's a bit different. We're working with one of my images and a few other images you can download online, so you can follow along, and I'll show you guys where you can get some really high quality images of mine. And yeah, let's get into it. We're working with the blue and gold look. They're really popular, faded throughout the whole image, and then those blues are in the shadows. They're metal blue, they're a little bit green, and then those really nice warm highlights and midtones pretty much throughout the whole image. So it's really popular. You guys are always asking for it, so I thought I'd do another one. And yeah, if we head over, this is my new website. It's pretty new if you haven't seen it already. This is my home page, and yeah, I want to show you guys. So I'm offering all of my best photos, maybe, or some that I think will be really handy for you guys to practice editing with. So we're going to be working with a few of them. So this one here and this one here, trying to get the blue gold look. These are available to you guys because this is exactly what I wanted when I started learning editing and stuff. I felt limited because I didn't have good images to use. But these are all shot on the Canon 1DX Mark II, Canon 16-35 2.8 Mark III, Sigma R35 1.4, Canon 50mm 1.2, 7200 Mark II Canon. And yeah, these are exactly what I wanted when I started, so now I'm offering them up to you guys so you can perfect your editing before investing in expensive equipment. So yeah, this is my new website, guys. I've just launched it. If you guys haven't clicked over already, I got my presets available also for you guys. If we just click over here is where you guys can find my presets. A lot of you guys ask where you can get them. They're just over here. They'll be down in the description, and you guys can come check out. We'll also be working with this image. And yeah, I think working with high quality photos is really key. So if you use them in combination, if you get my presets, it will really help you guys out. This image in particular is a free one you can download offline. I'll link that down in the description for you guys as well. And a lot of you guys don't know that I also offer you guys LUTs. So come over here, check it out. Yeah, I've got 3 main LUTs at the moment. I think you guys will really like them, including the blue gold look that we're actually working with in this tutorial. So there's the LUT version of this color grade as well, available for you guys. So come over here, check it out. Yeah, and then there's raw footage to go along with it. So if you guys want flat raw footage to practice color grading, Canon 1DX Mark II, high quality lenses, practice your color grading, and yeah, perfect your editing before you get expensive equipment. So it's exactly what I wanted. That's why I'm offering it to you guys. And yeah, enough about that, guys. If you're interested in the presets, come check them out. Check out the LUTs as well. I don't really post video content on YouTube because I want to keep it photo based, so Instagrammers will keep sending me photos. So yeah, let's get into Lightroom, try to get this really popular blue and gold look that has a really nice fade to the highlights and to the shadows, and overall is a really nice cinematic look. So let's get into it. Okay, so here's one of the images we're going to be working with. We're going to go through and I'm going to show you guys this preset in particular. So if we just apply it, and then let's bring up the warmth a lot, and then a bit of exposure, you can see we already get really close to where we want. And there's a few things I want to change about this one, but I'm just going to show you guys this preset and make some tweaks to some other images and then we'll come back and then go through an entire edit with this image getting exactly what we want, because there's a few things in this image I'd want to change even though the preset's got us really close. So like one of those things is taking a bit of warmth out of these whites. If your whites look too yellow or too blue, it can look quite unnatural. So that's something I would change in this. But we will come back to this edit and we'll just flick through a few others and make some quick tweaks, and then entire edit with this image later. So if I just come across, let's find the first one we'll work with. Let's go with this one here. So we'll just reset it. We'll come over, let's apply the blue gold fade. As you can see, it's really blue. Really bump up that warmth, and you start to get those golds coming in, and then those blues are still hanging around in the shadows and in the mid-tones. So I really like that. And again, this image looks really good with minimal changes. So I'll just crop it. Okay, maybe bring down the exposure a bit more. Touch more contrast maybe. And yeah, you get that real nice fade there. So that's been achieved with the curves there. So I think when I go through the entire edit, I'll explain all these changes in depth. But right now, I'll just show you applying the preset and then making a few changes to get the look we want. So I think this image works really well. Again, with those blues, get that fade look, and then you get those nice golds and oranges coming through. And yeah, I think I might just keep that one like that. I'll just show you some other images. So here's a real similar one. Let's reset, apply blue gold fade, bring up the warmth. Okay, I'll quickly crop it. Okay, so I think we could bring down the oranges just for the skin tones there. And yeah, I already quite like that one. Could bring up exposure, bring down exposure a bit more maybe. Keep the shadows up. Okay, so yeah, again, that one looks pretty good. We could maybe bring up the warmth a bit more. And then another really key part to this preset is blues in the shadows. So you might want to just play around with that one, add some more in, take some more out, and then just find the nice balance there. I think that looks pretty good. Okay, and then just we bring the highlights down all the way, so that like gives you really good detail in the highlights. You can see you get all those clouds back all the way back there. So I really like bringing down highlights for this look, and then those whites I kind of like to keep up a bit because your image starts to look really, really flat if you've got low whites and low highlights. So keeping the whites up a little, but as you can see, it's making our oranges look quite saturated. Could try bringing down the luminance or saturation of them again. Okay. Yeah, not too much more to that image. You guys can, pretty sure you guys can go download this one. Same as the last one. Canon 1DX Mark II, 16mm, 2.8, shutter speed 1000. So yeah, go see what images you can download, guys. I'll be putting a lot of these ones up for you guys. And let's move on to another image. So again, those nice oranges and blues. Let's try this one. So just reset it because I've been working on it. Let's quickly crop it. 4:5. Blue gold fade. Up the warmth. Okay. I think that looks good. Let's drop the exposure. And what I like to do, or what I think looks good in this image, is extra contrast in the highlights. And then maybe another one down the bottom here, dropping the exposure, or even just dropping the highlights again. Yeah, and again we get pretty close. You want to play around with the warmth, find out what you like. Probably quite a bit of warmth because that sun's really hitting the top of those mountains there. And yeah, you can see we've got that fade. And when you bring up the fade, especially here in the shadows and up here, you get a lot of detail in those shadows. So usually you wouldn't, in a normal edit, you wouldn't really see all those. If we go back to the original, you can see we really brought out all the detail along that tree line, and that's shadows up and a fade. And what it does, I think, which people don't maybe realize, is I think it gives the appearance of more dynamic range. If you bring out the detail in the shadows and then you bring down the highlights, so you're getting all that detail back, way back in those clouds. And yeah, and then you're bringing out the detail in the shadows as well. I think that's something that makes this flat looking image with a fade to both the highlights and the shadows look a little bit better. That appearance of better dynamic range. Here's a darker sunset one, so we'll just reset it. This will be a good example for that. So really blue at the moment. Let's bring up the warmth. As you can see, you get those metal blues in the shadows. I'm not sure how to describe those blues. Sort of a teal. Yeah, and they look really, really nice. And another really key part to working with these colors is the tint. So as you can see, we're looking very orangey red. Maybe go towards the yellows a bit. And yeah, as you can see, you'll just get a bit more of a green to those blues, and it can look really, really nice. And then you get slightly more orange reds. And yeah, playing around with the tint is another key part of this. And again, like I said in the other image, you can see all that detail we get back in the shadows. So original, yeah, and there's that fade, there's that real flat look, bringing up the shadows and adding a fade with the curves a lot just gives all this detail and creates that nice flat look. Okay, so quite like those colors. I mean, we might look a little too red there, so maybe come down, mess with making them a little more orange. But I think we get the picture. It looks pretty good there. Maybe down the saturation of the reds, just whatever. We won't spend too long on these ones. I'll just trying to show you guys quick tweaks to make these presets work. I might resave this preset so that the warmth is already added, just to not to confuse anyone, because some people might forget to bring up the warmth and think it looks totally wrong. So let's apply the preset, really blue, bring it up, and yeah, I think that looks great. Crop. Okay, so this one looks pretty good. You can see we're maybe a little too warm. The whites are really warm, and that's sort of just a dead giveaway that you've just lifted the warmth a lot. So if we bring it back down, we can kind of get closer to a more natural color to those highlights. I think that's a really key thing in this style, is getting separation. You're not just getting blue in the shadows and then warmth in the highlights. You gotta you gotta get the blues in the mid-tones. You gotta get warmth in the shadows. You gotta get blues in the shadows at the same time. So there's a lot to this look. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good. I would go into the curves and I would change the highlights, but I'll show you that in the final edit we do, how I would change the whites to get them where I want, because I think it's really important. So I'll emphasize that when we get to that. Here's another image. Let's reset it. Blue gold fade. Up the exposure maybe. Up the contrast. So maybe bring down the temperature if anything. Because it started off as such a warm shot, like the white balance is probably out for this shot. But add that in, you can see we get the blues and the shadows, and there's still that nice fade. Okay, we won't spend too much time on that one. Let's go to another one. Hit reset. Let's go with blue gold fade, up the warmth. Somewhere around there. Contrast, mess with the contrast a bit. See, those highlights are right down. That's what's really going to help you get that underexposed look. So highlights right down, and then got to keep those whites up a little because those images looking really flat. Okay, yeah, that image is kind of, I like that one. Maybe bring those whites down a bit. Maybe something like that. If you've got some nice shadows going on, you might want to include more of them. So I brought the shadows down a bit, blacks up a bit, so you still get that detail in them. But you get some nice shadows. Yeah, quite like that one. Just a bit of clarity to make things pop a little bit crisp, because when you really lack contrast, I think clarity helps the image pop. Okay, let's move on to another one. Reset. Blue gold fade. Right. Let's up the warmth. Okay, so you just want to really play around to where you think it looks good. Tint, make it a bit more blue, or a bit warmer with the purple. You can see it's not really adding in green and it's not really adding in purple, but so that's why it's quite important to play with the tint, just to see how it affects the image. Because it is going to add in warm purple. You might not think purple add in warmer colors, but it does. Green adds in more blue, so important to play around with that for when using this preset. Okay, yeah. Moving on, we'll go to another one. So here's just a snow one. So bang. As you can see, we get those nice blues in the shadows and the whites. Looks really, really good. Go. Let's just apply it again. Before and after. And then maybe these blues look a little too blue. We want to get that metally, greeny blue. So I might shift it a little this way. And then it's probably too saturated. And then you might want to mess with the blues down in the shadows because it might be too much. And then just maybe drop the saturation of the blues there until you think it looks kind of natural. And yeah. That's that one. Let's keep going. Let's try reset. I'll just quickly show you on this one as well. Blue gold fade, warmth, contrast, exposure, before, after. Looks good. Right. Keep going across. Let's have a look at this one. Okay, reset. Blue gold fade. Up the warmth. So it looks great. And then, as you can see, the before is very, very bright. Typically want to shoot at sunset and you get that really, really nice shadows. But we've got really harsh shadows at the moment. Drop the exposure. I think that looks pretty cool. Mess with the whites. Yeah. Before, after. Okay. We can probably move on to our main image. So working with this one, and I'll take you through the entire step. So this preset has got us close, and then there's quite a few things I want to change to get this image looking better and more natural. And by making it more natural, I think it looks a lot better. So let's start by really, really upping the warmth. Okay. It's whites down a bit. Blacks, let's bring out all the detail down in the darker areas. Vibrance there's another one you might want to play with. Just brings out, sometimes you just don't want to bring up saturation because it will affect the entire image, where you just want your main colors to pop. So probably just your colors in the midtones. So I like to bring up vibrance sometimes. Alright. Let's keep going. Let's maybe add a little vignette into this one. Let's go with -10 midpoint. Roundness. Feather it out a bit, and we'll drag the highlights up so that will make sure that the vignette is ignoring the highlights. And then while we're down here, we might just chuck in a bit of grain, not too much. Okay, let's go back up. Let's think about the curves here. So we're looking pretty good. I'll do some minor changes to the curve. So I think we look really, really flat. Like what I said before, we've brought out a lot of detail in the shadows there by lifting them up here and lifting them up in the curve there, getting a really flat image, bringing out lots of detail in there. Looks really good. We brought down the highlights, so as you can see, so if we leave the highlights up there, and when we drop them, that's when you get heaps of detail back up there. More so than the whites. See how the whites sort of just really, really bright areas. But I feel highlights are better to bring down, then whites up a little for that pop. And okay. Okay, so we're looking really flat, and I want to just put a bit more of a pop to the image. So I'm going to lift the highlights. Okay, so that adds a bit more brightness into those highlights. We're not so flat, so if I delete it, you can see it looks very flat. Flat looks good sometimes, but I'll just add a little bit more in there. Might get rid of the clarity for now. Okay, and then the white point I think can stay there. It helps us get flatness in the very brighter areas, but what it's really doing here is probably lifting the midtones a little, but I'm okay with that. So you see, bringing down the white point makes this area move. I could pin that down, but I think it looks okay. Alright, so let's just see if our split toning's all good. Maybe add a bit more blue into the shadows. You can see that the highlights are really overpowering. We've got a lot of warmth through the entire image. So I'm just going to lift that up. Okay, so now we've introduced a lot more blues, and then let's just chuck some highlights in there. So what I've done is shifted the balance. So this is going to put blues into almost the entire image. So if I kept it here, it would just be putting blues into the shadows, but you can see it's just, we've got too much warmth through the entire image. So let's put that there. So by shifting it this way, we're putting way more blue into the entire image and less warmth into the entire image. So I'm going to leave it about there. You can see that's really balanced things out. Before and after the split toning, so giant difference there. And okay, let's come up to curves. So this is where it gets very this is very important, this bit. So if I go to the blue curve, what I want to do is add more blues, say especially in the midtones. So I want to get the whites, the sky, I want to get them almost white, because that's what just looks more natural. Otherwise it looks like you've just brought up the warmth of the entire image and it doesn't quite work. So I'm going to work with the curves now, and I'm going to really target these white areas and try to just get them a bit closer to white. They're a bit too yellow or too warm at the moment. So I'm just going to mess around with the blue curve. Okay, so I think I'm finished with the curve there. So the main thing I did here is bring up the mid-tones of the blues. There isn't many, these whites, they're not overly bright, so they're being registered pretty much as a mid-tone of brightness. So as you can see, this really affects the blues in those whites there, and that's what I was trying to do, get these closer to white. It's a dead giveaway when you don't know what you're doing, is having not very good white balance. See, I could have tried to do that in the highlights, but as you can see, it's just affecting the sky up there. I wanted to really get the waterfall and the clouds and stuff. So as you can see, that's what I was trying to achieve with the curve there, adding more blue into the middle there. Okay, and hopefully you guys understand that. Like, you want to add a style and different colors into the entire image, but you need to keep your blacks close to black and you need to keep your whites close to white. Otherwise your style just looks too unnatural. You don't want it completely white, you might want a bit of warmth in there, but yeah, you want to keep it pretty good. And these are just all the tones from the preset. I won't go through them all. Saturation of the oranges is really important, so I'll just keep that quite a wee way down. Yellows, really bring down the yellows, because yellows will be very, very often registered as greens, and I've really brought down the greens. And then because you're adding so much blue into the image, you want to get that nice blue look to the greens anyway, and that's what really helps do that. So I've taken the greens all the way down, and you'll always still have greens in the image because so much of those greens are yellows. And if it's not for some reason, then bring your greens up a little. And then yeah, the split toning will add those nice blues into the greens, bringing down the yellows a lot. And then up here, warming up the yellows a wee bit. Not doing too much to the oranges. Since we're adding in so much warmth, these oranges might get just way too red, so maybe cool them off by making them a little more yellow up here. Luminance, just a little bit to the yellows, because that's what the sun is hitting, and you can really make your image pop if you bring up the brightness of the yellows, because yeah, that's where sunlight is hitting. And drop the luminance of the blues, because I feel like we get real deep blues that are quite saturated in the style. I think we're looking good there. Otherwise, sharpening, it's up to you guys. It's all personal preference. I'd maybe leave it down, and in the other images I was doing a bit of clarity. I think clarity can look good. I think this image, only a little bit of clarity looks good, if any, because it's such a jagged looking image. You got all these rocks and you got all these trees. I think a smoother looking image looks better for this photo. I just do a little bit, and I think we just look maybe a little too faded. I might brighten. It's a bit underexposed as well, so I'm going to bring up the exposure to, say, maybe there, and then maybe a bit more contrast by bringing down the blacks. So brought out lots of detail, but maybe I'll try bringing down the blacks a bit. Let's go about there. So we added in quite a bit of contrast there by bringing up the exposure and bringing down the blacks. But as you can see from the original, we still have a decent fade and flatness to the image. I think that looks really good as well. So yeah, I really like that, guys. I'm going to save this one as a preset. So if I come over here, go all the way to the top, create preset, gold, blue, gold, blue, fade 2. They might be cut off from recording, but it's called gold, blue, fade 2. And I'll probably tick white balance. Like, usually you don't want to tick white balance, but since I've got so many different styles in my preset pack, I think I need to tick white balance. And then when you apply, make sure you're hitting reset every time, because if you apply an image that doesn't have white balance saved, it's gonna carry on from the image before. So make sure you're hitting reset every time you apply these presets. And then, because warmth is such an important part of these styles, some people won't know to add it in. So I think I'm going to save it with white balance included. Create. I will replace, because I already have one called that, but I'll replace it. And yeah, if we come down, so I really like the one we had before, but you can see it's really warm, and then we're lacking those blues and the shadows and such. So then you might be like, let's bring down the warmth, and that looks really good as well. That looks really good. So like bring down the blacks. It's looking really good actually. But here's what the one we came up with. So we've got these whites that are much more white. So before, they're just a bit too warm, they look unnatural, and you want to get your bright parts, your whites, to be very close to white, otherwise it looks unnatural, as I said. So yeah, I've got heaps of presets over here. I've got lots of other blue gold ones. A lot of these are just ones I've been practicing with, so they're not all available to you guys, but all the best ones are. They're all in my preset pack that you guys can get. So if we just go back and apply this preset to a lot of these images, so if I just hit gold fade 2, as you can see, that really cooled off the image because there's a lot more blue in the midtones in this preset. But then say you've got more room to bring up the temperature of the entire image, and then since you've got so much blue in the midtones, you aren't going to get too warm in those midtones, but you'll get warmer in the highlights and the shadows. And yeah, and the key to achieving something like this is being able to get those warm tones both in the shadows and highlights at the same time. And that can be really tricky to do. So you've got to use the combination of the curves and the split toning, and then you'll achieve something like that. And the colors look a little intense. I think vibrance could be something to bring up more, that we haven't included in the preset. So if we just, but we'll keep it down for now. So let's go back and put it on some of these other images we worked on. So there's the one we were working with before. Let's go with this one now. So a lot cooler, bring down the temperature. It's a lot cooler. We've got a lot of those blues back there, and you'd want to take them out maybe in the curves. We added a lot in there. And then if we went down to maybe split toning again, take them out. Highlights, maybe take the highlights out if you think up there is too warm, which it is very warm at the moment. And then yeah, saturation of those aquas, take them down. Yeah, you get something looking pretty good. Probably want the exposure up. And then he looks a little too orange, but you guys get the picture. I don't want to go through all these again. Let's bring that down a bit. Yeah, maybe we want some more warmth in the highlights. Let's try on this one real quick. Drop the exposure. Looking a bit blue again. Let's drop some blues out. The shadows. Up the exposure maybe. Yeah. So yeah, I really like this one, guys. Remember, one of the keys was working with the curves to get your whites looking white. So again, here's the one we had before. Looks really good, and then we wanted to just make our whites a bit more white, and we did that with the curves, adding more. If you keep an eye down here, adding more into the midtones and highlights, more blues in there, and then you get those nice white highlights. And that's how you use the curves to make your image look natural, because if it looks too different from what you naturally see with your eye, it gives away that you've changed the colors and just sort of ruins your whole style. So let's try it on this one. Actually, this one looks a little underexposed and faded. Let's put this one on, bring it down. Yeah, I think that looks great. Get those nice blue, warm blues down there. Same in the shadows there. Whites. Whites can come up maybe. Get that flatness. Cool. Yeah, I really like this one, guys. So, if we come back, maybe quickly chuck. I really like this photo, so I'll just chuck it on this one. Okay, so it looks a little purple, like you can see, especially in the yellow truck there. Shift it a little towards the green. Yeah, maybe not quite as good as our other one, but still looks really good. Keep it about there. Right, come back to the main one we're working on. So I really like this, guys. I might bring up the clarity, see what that looks like. Not that far. Okay, so I'll just leave it there, guys. If you guys want raw photos, I will make them available for you guys to download. Some of these are my own photos and some of these are from a free website, so I'll most likely make them available for you guys to download. My photos are from a Canon 1DX Mark II with the best Canon L series lenses you can get. So if you guys want professional photos, high quality photos that you can edit with, perfect your editing before investing in expensive gear, then definitely go and purchase them, because that's exactly what I want when I started. I was editing and I just felt limited because I could push the colors way more with a better image. So it really frees you up to learn, perfect your editing, and then maybe upgrade your gear and get the most out of your gear. So it's exactly what I wanted when I started. That's why I'm offering it to you guys now. And yeah, so they'll be available over my website. Go check it out. Check out the presets over there, guys. So tons of value in my preset pack, guys, and there's been just a ton of feedback. You guys can go look at all the feedback as well. I'm really happy with that. There's so much more stuff coming, guys, so I'm really happy how much you guys are learning. And yeah, if you're interested in Luts, so video color grading, make sure you go over to my website, because I don't post that stuff that much over here, because I want to keep this photo editing so people will keep sending in their photos to me. And yeah, plenty of really good Luts. I really want to show you guys on here, but I can't hurt this brand too much, but they're really good. Go over to my website and you'll be able to see them there in action. There's also raw flat footage from a Canon 1DX Mark II. So if you want high quality footage from a camera all the pros are using, you can download it at my website, Colorgrade it, and yeah, that's for video as well. So definitely go check that out if you're interested. What else? That's about it, guys. I will catch you guys in the next one. Make sure you comment who you guys want to see. So just keep commenting people who have great images but don't have too many followers. That way they will send in an image and I will do a tutorial on them and really help you guys achieve their style. So yeah, really appreciate all the feedback, guys. Leave a comment down in the description. You guys have been amazing so far. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.